Hello, welcome to the webinar. I'm Emily Moore from thinkstep-anz, and I'm really excited to be facilitating this webinar today with ThinkStep and Hospitality NZ, titled Creating a Sustainability Roadmap for the Hospitality Industry, going through some of the great work that we've done with Hospo NZ and some of the really impactful outcomes that have derived from that work. We will be hearing from Megan Williams, who's Sustainability Manager at Hospitality NZ, who's going to go through that materiality process and the sustainability strategy that came out from it as well for Hospo NZ. Some really interesting insights from that. And we have Martin Fryer, who's our Head of Strategy and Disclosures at ThinkStep ANZ. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Martin.
Thank you so much, Em. And kia ora tātou katoa. Martin Fryer, Head of Strategy and Disclosure. So I've been with ThinkStep for just over 4 years. I was involved in materiality assessments in previous roles in large corporates here in New Zealand. So had quite a bit of experience of conducting materiality assessments. And I suppose it's kind of a basic product offering now for ThinkStep. The connection with Hospitality New Zealand was kind of made last year, where Megan reached out because they were undertaking a strategy kind of refresh. And it's a really good point in time to actually conduct a materiality assessment. A lot of them are actually driven by corporate reporting and the need to undertake materiality assessments as part of global reporting frameworks. But I think there is value really in undertaking an assessment, either to produce a report or indeed to develop a sound kind of sustainability strategy. So I'm just going to run through a few slides with a bit of the kind of technical background to sustainability disclosures and materiality assessments in particular. So materiality assessments uncover what matters most to your stakeholders. We invite a cross-section of important stakeholders, both internal or external, to basically contribute topics they consider most important to your organization. And that cross-section, particularly for internal stakeholders, we look to engage with a kind of vertical cross-section from board members, executive, management, down to kind of interns. Contractors would be some external stakeholders, but it could be customers, NGOs, industry bodies, etc. So it's good to get a good cross-section of stakeholders, and we basically go through an interview process, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Once you have those material topics, and there can be a significant number to begin with, it's important to kind of rank them and, I suppose, filter them down into a manageable number that then get built into the foundation of developing a sustainability strategy or the framework for a sustainability report. But what is a material topic? Well, if you refer to the guidance produced by the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, they suggest that they are topics that reflect the reporting organization's significant economic, environmental, and social impacts, or is a topic that substantively influences the assessments and decisions of stakeholders. So it's those things that can actually impact reputation as well as business performance. Why would you do it? Well, they don't only allow organizations to make more considered decisions, materiality assessments, the process itself actually contributes directly to deeper stakeholder engagement. We're seeing an increasing requirement for materiality assessments for reporting standards around the world. And materiality is something that is coming in to focus on specific elements of sustainable business practice. And the recent kind of growth in climate-related disclosures and looking at the materiality of climate-related risks and opportunities is a kind of classic example of that. So how do we do it? Well, we refer to the accountability standard. It's been around since 2015, and they basically describe a stakeholder as groups who affect and or could be affected by an organization's activities, products, or services, and associated performance. And if you're looking at assurance and assurance of reports, then that standard has its own assurance standard that was last updated in 2020. So that can lead to a very robust sustainability report. The nuts and bolts of a materiality assessment, and this is the process we went through with Megan and Hospitality New Zealand. We undertook stakeholder interviews, which produced a master list, a master material topics list, That was kind of narrowed down, and then it was discussed internally in what we call the business impact workshop, but it also went into a stakeholder survey, and stakeholders were asked to rank the importance of those material topics. And then you combine the two to produce the classic materiality matrix and build that into your framework and strategy. So the output looks a little bit like this. The impact on the industry, in case of Hospitality New Zealand, on the vertical axis, stakeholder concern on the horizontal. And I think there were something like 18 in that master list. And Megan will explain how they kind of amalgamated some of those or changed the priority of some of those into a manageable set that went into the strategy for their sector. Interesting to see in the poll a little bit of knowledge around double materiality. It's an approach that's kind of expanding. It's introducing this concept of looking at materiality, not just in terms of impact, but specifically around financial impact. So it's an assessment of the impact on environment, society, economy, but also looking at, okay, what are the financial implications for my organization if I don't manage these risks or these important topics, or seize the opportunities that they might provide as well. If you are looking at a simpler format, then we can actually refer to the GRI standards, particularly around double materiality, because it may be that you've been looking at material topics for some time, or there is a GRI standard available, which actually provides you with that material topics list. So you don't have to go through that initial stakeholder engagement to determine the material topics. You really just have to check in with your stakeholders to determine which ones are most material. Those material impacts then get looked at through a financial impact lens, and you end up with a slightly different materiality matrix. So the vertical axis here is on financial impact on the business. This is, for example, for someone in the agricultural sector, because there's a specific GRI standard, GRI 13, and that says there are 24 material topics for that particular sector. So you really just need to engage with your stakeholders to develop that horizontal axis to determine the ones that are relevant and how important they are to those particular stakeholders. The outcomes, whether you're producing a report, whether you're producing a strategy, materiality assessments help you identify risks and opportunities. They certainly satisfy reporting requirements. That engagement process with your stakeholders improves communication and that relationship, because you're actually going out to the stakeholder and you're saying your views actually matter. They matter to us as we're developing our strategy. You can actually have an input into that process. And I think that adds a significant amount of weight to stakeholder relationships. Certainly, it will increase the value of sustainability activities, giving people a clear indication of the areas that you want them to get involved in terms of delivering sustainable business practice, but actually showing how it fits into that much bigger picture. The feedback that you get from your stakeholders gives you a really deep understanding of the stakeholder perspectives, particularly if you go through that interview stage. It's a really, really detailed output that has immense value to you as an organization. And as I've said, the ultimate kind of output is the development of a sustainability policy if you're just starting out, or as in the case with Hospitality New Zealand, and at this point I'll hand over to Megan, it's a fundamental foundation for developing a strong strategy. So with that, thank you. I'll hand over to Megan.
Thank you, Martin, and kia ora koutou, ko Megan Williams tako ingoa. So those of you who don't know who Hospitality New Zealand is, we're a membership organisation dedicated to championing hospitality and serving 2,500 members around Aotearoa, New Zealand. Our mission is to equip industry members with the tools, resources, partnerships and knowledge that they require to enhance their business. So we launched the first HNZ strategy in March of this year, and to do that, as Martin said, we worked together with ThinkStep. And it was really important for us to work with a trusted partner to go out to the industry to see what really mattered to them, as it was the first that was really something we wanted to do. So the materiality assessment conducted by the team was thorough and included all aspects of our membership, as well as talking to our key suppliers, which was a new thing for me. We wanted to find the right balance between what we wanted, like what we thought we should be doing, what our members wanted us to do, and what the suppliers thought was the right thing to do as well, like that whole reaching towards industry best practice. And we're also part of a bigger visitor economy, so we wanted to, make sure that we were sitting alongside some of our adjacent industries like tourism as well. So at the same time, hospitality has gone through quite a tough economic time, so we needed to really think about that alongside that. So to embed sustainability throughout the organisation, we wanted to put it into some context, and on the right there you can see we put the sustainability strategy within our 5-year strategy, which was really new. So we'd already done a whole lot of work around our values, and as you can see, the values that we have are manaakitanga, or hospitality, ohanga, which is economic prosperity and well-being, whanaungatanga, relationships and community, and kaitiakitanga, guardianship and sustainability. So that was a really good foundation for us to put this strategy within. And as I said, in the current times, we're focused on delivering the greatest impact we can with this strategy with the minimum resources that people have at the moment. Okay, so in such a diverse sector, we have heroes who've been leading the way, some amazing operators out there who've been sustainable forever because it's part of their values, but we also have members who need to know why we're focusing on this at all. So we wanted to make sure that we really outlined the great reasons to embed sustainability within an organisation, because we know that the sector really wants to improve their efficiency. We know that they want to enhance their brand reputation, meet the expectations of customers, which are changing, right? We know that they want to future-proof the sector in terms of resilience and be protected against any future regulatory changes, and of course to support wellbeing and attract and retain staff who are much more conscious of these aspects nowadays. So Martin has explained the process. We talked about, you remember the graph there, we talked about 18 material issues that came up first of all within our interviews, and we needed to distill that down a little bit. So what we did was we went out on a survey to members, and then we came up with the 12 areas that you'll see on the screen there that fit under those values that we have. So we're currently focused on those, and we realised that we're actually already delivering through our current work some aspects of this, which was great to see that we were already in touch with what our industry wanted, but it also meant that we wanted to double down and strengthen some areas, and also start up some new sectors of work and work on some more partnerships to help our sector and roll out more resources. This is our busy page 3 of our strategy. So this covers a list of all 12 of those areas, focus areas, and how we plan to work on them. And we are working on all areas, but with a special focus at the moment on those areas in red. And so that's financially sustainable business and those kaitiakitanga areas, food waste, reducing food waste, waste and recycling, making sure people are doing everything they can there, eliminating single-use products, reducing your costs around energy use, and also starting to look at what your carbon emissions look like. So those are the things that are the most important for us to get cracking on straight away. Our strategy is also connected to the UN SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and these are the 8 out of the 17 in particular that align with the 12 areas that we're focusing on. And we just wanted to, pin, because the strategy is within our own 5-year strategy, we just wanted to pin to something greater than ourselves, and it made sense to use the SDGs. We've also included Cogo, which is a carbon management product in New Zealand that is effective and easy for our businesses to measure their carbon emissions. And so we've set up an HNZ dashboard with some other partners, and as more members start to use this free service, we'll build up a whole lot of data for us about how the industry is faring, and it'll also show us areas where we need to put more time or resource into educating in terms of learning and development and partnerships to assist the sector. So we all know that you've got to measure stuff to be able to manage it, and we really wanted the sector to be able to do this in a free, easy way. So one of the things that we've got started already with is together with Wellington NZ, we've launched the Low Carb program. So we're focusing on our capital city And this is where we're going to be signing up hundreds of hospitality operators to that Cogo product so that they can get an understanding of their carbon footprint, and we can deliver work to them to try and reduce that, mainly in saving energy and saving cost around waste at this point in time when cost is such a key thing for them. So we've already had 20 sign-ups. We only launched this a couple of weeks ago, so we know that we're off to a good start. And we've also had members from around the other parts of the country that have just gotten on board as well. So as I said, we've got some real starting points with where we're helping people to reduce carbon. And so many of us are so busy in our operations, and hospitality operators especially. You know, you've got chefs running businesses and they get dragged into the kitchen because the chef's sick. You know, they really have very little time to review some of these parts like energy and waste and transport or to do carbon accounting. So they're really busy. But we know that it works. Over the many years I've been doing this, we've worked with businesses that have, you know, significantly reduced their costs, their carbon footprint through doing some of these things at the same time as enhancing their brand. So we're reaching our membership. As I said, we've got 2,500 members. So we're doing it through events that we run. So we just had our HNZ 25, our big hospitality conference at Tākina in Wellington 2 weeks ago. We had a lot of interest in the strategy and the work that we're doing. I've also been upskilling our regional managers. We have regional managers around Aotearoa who meet regularly with our members. So it's really important that they understand the types of things that people can do to be more sustainable and to reduce their carbon. And we have newsletters and we have regional meetings where I or someone else can be upskilling our membership. So we'll be continuing to roll out more resources and different options for our members to learn from as we learn from that specific low carb program in Wellington. So I really look forward to, seeing where we're in 1 year's time. Our strategy's only been live for 3 months, so we've got a long way to go in rolling out programs, but I think we've started off with a hiss and a roar. So thanks very much. Happy to answer questions from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan.
Perfect. Yes, thank you for that, Megan. Yeah, like you've said, it's amazing that your strategy's been out for 3 months, but already there's so many promising resources and opportunities for upskilling and engagement with stakeholders that's already come from that. So yeah, really fantastic to hear. Yes, we do have our Q&A now. So just through, I did have a question for you, Megan, about your materiality assessment journey. So given that there's so many different materiality topics and given the nature of the sector of hospitality, did you find anything surprising or maybe unexpected about where the topics ended up falling on the matrix?
Good question. Yeah, we have a very diverse sector compared to others. We actually have your hotels, holiday parks, your cafes, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, and even a few casinos. So it's a really big breadth of members, and I guess their understanding of sustainability is fairly broad too. We've got, as I said, leaders and then people who really have not given it any thought. So yeah, I guess the interviews that ThinkStep conducted with members, I think were really, really interesting in terms of the things that came up. And I wasn't too surprised with the topics. It was more the ranking of them, I guess, that came out. Carbon was a lot lower than I would have expected it to be, but I think it's just due to that, helping businesses be financially sustainable was the most important thing. And I think that's just really the times that we are in, or even worse last year when this was conducted, that was the top of mind. And so when we had to distill them down, obviously we went out to our membership, and in the survey process that was distilled down to 12 topics. And we also had a bit of a say in that, so we upweighted the carbon part because we knew that we really wanted to have a program like Cogo, and we wanted to roll out more awareness around carbon, and so that people could be measuring and have more awareness of what they can reduce to be more sustainable, but also to help us as an industry to have a baseline so that we know where we're at. We can then make decisions based on that and build that up over time. So yeah, we had to weight that just a little bit. But other than that, that was the thing that I guess that surprised me the most. Other ones I pretty much expected that they would be material topics.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. And yeah, that's a really good example, I think, of how the materiality assessment framework is quite a standardized thing, but it can be applied in so many different ways as long as the outcomes are the most relevant to the industry or to the business. So that's, really fantastic that you were able to take that approach. Got a few questions rolling in now. I've got another one for you, Megan. So may I know if you accept volunteers for your programs? If yes, how can people engage?
Okay, great. So it depends where you are. The Low Carb program is available for anybody in the Wellington wider region. And so that's just going on to, I think you might have shared the link to the Low Carb program in that region. So that's, you can go in and sign up. If you are a business in New Zealand and you really want to be involved with that program, you can sign up anyway. We have, as I said, quite a few outside of the Wellington region. It just means that there won't be so many bespoke events for you in this next kind of 9 months, but we will roll out around the country, as I said, as we learn from what works for our sector at this point of time. And so please feel free. If you are in Australia, we can probably find something else that might suit you that's run in Australia.
Awesome. Thank you. And yes, the link is in the chat. So if you are interested in checking that out, go have a look. Perfect. We have another question. So this could probably be either of you, Martin or Megan. So we have a small hospitality business and not a lot of staff and resources to manage this. Can you suggest how we should manage our sustainability journey?
Okay, I'm happy to go first. So I think, I don't know how small your business is, but sometimes small is better because you can work as a team to, it's really important to include your team in this. And so if you're only like 3 or 4 people, then it's great to just make that part of your BAU. So your staff meetings would include sustainability on the agenda, and so that you would actually have a lens that you look at everything that you're doing through a sustainability lens as well. So instead of treating it as a separate project, it becomes what you do and how you do things. And that does take a little bit of practice, and it might pay to have someone to help you to start doing that, or find one of your staff to be the champion of that and go, okay, if we're going to put a green lens or sustainability lens on this, what else would we be asking ourselves? And I think it's also, I'm not sure what kind of hospitality businesses you are, but often we look at KPIs around sales and bums on seats, etc., bed nights, but also to start looking at some of those fixed costs and analysing them a little bit more to see how can we save energy? What are the things that we can do? And there are plenty of free resources out there. How can we reduce our waste costs by being more circular? And often that is very simple, just by looking in your rubbish bin and looking at how to get rid of things. So there's a lot of things you can do just with, on a shoestring budget. Yeah.
Perfect. Anything to add there, Martin, do you think?
No, I think, Megan's covered it perfectly, but it is actually about just taking those first small steps, and they can be very, very small. Eat the elephant one bite at a time. And as Megan has alluded, energy, water and waste, there is usually a saving to be had. So look for those projects that, potentially less resource intensive, but have a better return on the investment that you have available.
Perfect. Well, thank you for clarifying on how we can get started on that journey. I'm sure that will be helpful to many people listening today. All right, so we are at time, so I'll wrap up now, but thank you so much for attending this webinar and for presenting, Martin and Megan. Really, really good outcomes and insights into materiality assessments and the hospitality industry in New Zealand as well. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and I hope to see you at the next webinar. Have a great afternoon.
We have many more webinar replays on a whole host of sustainability topics. You can check them out on our website and our YouTube channel.